Hi guys, and welcome to the Australian Reptile Park. My name's Dean, I'm the head of Birds and Mammal Keeper, and today we're going to talk about Tasmanian Devils. But before that, I'd just like to thank you for tuning in today in these tough times, and I hope you are sitting there and getting a lot of information from me today. So again, thanks for tuning in. So as you can see, I've got a male Tasmanian Devil here. This is Wolf. Wolf is a 18-month-old Tasmanian Devil. Now, I actually hand raised him from 120 grams, which is the smallest devil I've ever hand raised, and now he's around about 6 kilos. So he's grown a lot, and he doesn't like the camera, so he's a bit of a sook. So a cute couple of little things. Boys are really sooky when they get older, and females are more independent. So a little bit of information about the Tasmanian Devil. These guys used to be on the mainland of Australia up to about 3,500 years ago, but fossil records indicate that around about 750 years they were actually still on the mainland. They're just found in Tasmania now, and the poor plight of the devil, you've probably all heard, which is DFTD, which I'll get into that a little bit later, but we'll talk about all the great things about the devils. So the main reason why they think they died out on the mainland of Australia, there's a couple of reasons: the introduction of humans and also dingoes. Now, the dingoes wouldn't have predated on these, probably sick and injured ones, but it would have outsourced their food. Now, devils are basically, they eat dead meat. They're carnivorous, and so they can hunt animals, but they basically eat all the dead meat. And what they're doing is they're actually cleaning up the ecosystem in the forest. So these guys are eating all the dead animals and keeping the ecosystem nice and healthy. Now, these guys actually are solitary animals, but they do come together to feed. And a couple of, so in the wild, these guys can smell their meat up from about 2 kilometers away. And what happens if an animal dies, the devil will smell this meat straight away, and they'll all come in from around a couple of kilometers away, and they'll feast on that animal. So say if it's a kangaroo, for instance, if a devil's feeding on the kangaroo, if there's just one devil on it, it'll take a while to break that kangaroo down. So they all come together to feed off one kangaroo, and what they're doing is helping each other pull that kangaroo apart. So imagine 10 devils on a large kangaroo, all pulling and tearing. That meat disappears very quickly. Now, the devils have the strongest bite force of an animal their size. It's around about 553 newtons, which is quite strong. Now, you can see the devil has a really large head, and I'm going to show you its teeth, so just bear with me while I just adjust him. So these guys have some nice sharp teeth. They have 42 teeth in total. They have 4 canines, and then the rest are in the back of their mouth with a few little front ones. Now, their teeth on the side are like a mountain range and like a scissor action. So when they come into the meat, he's going to want to go up here now. Oh, there we go. So their teeth act like a scissor, basically. So when coming down onto the meat, it basically slices and chews. These guys have such strong jaws that, I'll just let me get him down. These guys have such strong jaws that they actually can eat the whole animal. So they eat the bone, the fur, and the meat. Now, a couple of interesting little things about their poop, if you're interested, is that you can tell what the devil ate. Basically, they'll have a nice dark poo, which is meat. They can have a fur poo, because the fur won't break down in their tummies. It's quite fibrous, so it goes straight through them. So they get this little fur poo, and they get a white poo, which is when they chew all the bone down, so it comes out as white. So these guys, a couple of other little things about them. You can see their long whiskers and their shiny little nose. So these guys have very good hearing. Their whiskers are really long. So this is a twofold. They're a night animal, but they do like to come out during the day and have a little bit of a sunbake. So they're more active in the morning and night time. These whiskers are so long. So basically what that does is when they're on food, if another devil comes like that, comes near them, they can feel it and they'll spin around and protect themselves. You can see all these little dots on. So their whiskers go into these little sensory areas. Everyone usually goes, oh, is that DFTD? But it's not. It's actually their sensory organs. So they can feel. Also, it helps them at night time when they're running around in the dark. So their eyesight's pretty poor. Their hearing's amazing, and their smell is amazing as well. You can see his little wet nose there. So his little wet nose, that's where he sweats from. So they don't have sweat glands. So this is how they perspire. And you can see the nice red ears. So these ears, when the sun hits them, turn bright red. You can see they're a little bit pink at the moment, but when the sun comes behind them, this is where they sort of get their name from. So their name is Tasmanian Devil. Obviously, they were only, when the first settlers came here, they were only found in Tasmania. When they saw the noise that they make at night, fighting over food, and then their little red ears stick up like devil horns, so they get the name Tasmanian Devil. Their Latin name is actually Sarcophilus harrisi, and that means meat lover. So it's quite a cool name, isn't it? That's amazing. A couple of little interesting things about their little hands. So they have it 5 digits just like us, and they can pick their food up. So I'll just get this. You can see their little hand there. So they actually can sit down on their bottom and sit up, and they clean their face with these after a meal. They also hold their food with it. So if a food's got a little bit of fur on it, they'll hold the meat and they'll paw it and try and get that fur off because they want the yummy meat. And if you look at their back feet, they're totally different. So their front feet are longer than their back feet. So that when they actually run, they have this funny gait. It looks like a rocking horse. These guys can actually run up to around about 10 to 15 kilometers. I think I've clocked one around about 20 kilometers, but just short distances. So when they want to get away from you, they'll run off, but they can't maintain that. So as I said, they are more of a scavenger, but they will hunt their own food. And they can bring things down like sick and injured animals. They can catch birds, snakes, lizards, anything that they can catch, they'll have a bit of a nibble and taste on. So these guys, I'll go through their breeding cycles. So these guys are 18. If you look down here on the ground, you've got 2 females. So this is Alua and Blue, sorry. And these Wolf and Alua are actually related, whereas Belle's not. So before these guys hit 2 years old is when they come into their sexual maturity. We actually split them up, and then they go to Aussie, which is where we do all of our breeding. So the breeding is basically happens from February to June, and the female will come into estrus. Now estrus is when all her hormones kick in and she's ready to be bred. She'll have this 3 times during the year. So if she doesn't get pregnant the first time, she'll have a month off and go again around about April, May. And then if she doesn't get pregnant then, she also goes in around about June, July. So they want to get pregnant in the first estrus because all their hormones are the strongest. The male will come in, basically, as she goes into a 4-day period where she gets flushed with hormones. And the male will come in so she's not so aggressive and drag her into the den, basically. It's not the wine and chocolates like most people think. It's quite an aggressive affair. He'll lock her in the den up for about 4 days until she sort of snaps out of that, and then she'll kick him out. So when she has her joeys, their gestation's around about 21 days, and she'll be in her den. So after 21 days, she goes into another, like a trance. You can see they're hassling Hugh in here a little bit. We like to call them little, they steal everything basically. So when you've got them babies running around your house, anything not tied down, they will basically run and hide it under your couch or bed. So I've lost remotes, things like that, socks, jocks, everything. So after about 21 days, she gives birth, and that is to around about 30 or 40 joeys. So that's a lot of joeys, you say. Well, basically what happens is it's a survival of the fittest from very early on. She only has 4 teats, so only 4 joeys will crawl into the pouch and attach. The rest just fall off. And everyone's like, oh, why can't you save those joeys and raise 30 or 40 joeys? Well, they're actually so small, it's really hard. They're about the size of a grain of rice. So those joeys will attach onto the teat, and they'll stay there for about 4 months. After 4 months, mum will den them in the den, and she'll go off and find food and come back. Now, when you're in the wild, you've got other male devils around, they just see other devils as food. So what happens is the joeys will make a little burrow right up the back, and they actually have a vocal call. So when mum comes back, she'll give a little call, and, say, arf, arf, and the little joeys will come down and know that that's mum. So they stay in the den for about up to 6 or 7 months, and then they start venturing out. And then all of a sudden, at the end of 10 months, there's no weaning. Mum just up and leaves and never comes home. So joeys are on their own for about 10 months old. And then they'll stay around in that the area for another few months until they disperse. They'll live, so if there's 4 joeys and they all survive, they'll den together for probably another 5 or 6 months. Then they'll disperse. So we've got this terrible thing called DFTD, which is devil facial tumour disease. Now, it's a type of cancer that's transmittable, which is quite rare. I think there's only 3 in the world, and the devils have 1. So it was found in 1996, and it went from the northeast all the way over to the west. So it's sort of hit the mountain range at the moment, and it's really slowed down. But there were around about 450,000 devils. And now there's only about 10% of that left. So it's wiped out 90% since 1996, which is not that very long. So up at the Barrington Tops, we have a big breeding facility called Aussiark, where we breed these devils. So if you're always looking to help out the devil, you can log on to aussiark.org and see how you can donate or help out these devils. Pretty amazing, aren't they? So as I said, I've hand raised probably about 12 sets of joeys now, and these were last year's. I'm just got to get him down. It's one of the most amazing things you could ever do, hand raising a joey. They really quite bond to you. Everyone goes, oh, devils are so aggressive. However, when you hand raise them, you get this bond with them. Now, devils will revert back to their wild traits very quickly. But I tend to come in here every day and sit and have a little play with them. As long as you keep that interaction up with them. They are a wild animal. You can never actually trust them. As you can see, I can put my fingers in his mouth and he's not going to bite me. He doesn't want his fingers in there. But they do have very strong jaws. So I'm going to put him down and see if I can get one of the girls to come up to me. I'm just going to come down here. So they're very inquisitive. This is Blue. Blue likes to mouth everything. So if I put my little hand there, she'll chew on it. Now, it doesn't hurt. If you didn't know the devil, you wouldn't come in here to do this. Everyone says, oh, they're so aggressive when we see them. They're always growling and hissing. Basically, what you're seeing is a hand-raised devil. In the wild, you would never see a devil unless you went out at night and spotlighting on carcasses. Devils are really shy and elusive. They will live, you could walk past a grass tussock and it could be curled up asleep inside and you wouldn't even know it. So she's having a nice little chew there.
Can you tell us a bit more about their vocalizations?
Yeah, so they do have some distinct vocalizations. They've got a few of them which I do know. We had someone come up and do a study on it, and they reckon there's about 14 different vocalizations. I know about 3. There's the arf, 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 which is an inquisitive one. They'll come around when you and do an arf. There's the growl, which is I'm not quite sure, you know, stay away from me. And they also do a grrr, and that's when they're really unsure. They're a little bit nervous. Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about when you were hand raising devils? What does that involve for you at home?
Oh, so devils are like any baby animal or a human. They take up a lot of time. She's having a real good go now. So they would be, you have them from around about 4 months old up till about 1 year old. And you've got to go through the whole weaning process. So they're on bottles of milk. It's a special formula, and basically they get fed 5 or 6 times a night. So you're getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning. So basically you're feeding a bottle at 6 a.m, at lunchtime, at dinner time, before you go to bed, and then you're getting up and doing that 2 a.m. feed. So a lot of care. You have to keep them in a little hot box, some nice pouches. And the only good thing about these guys is they actually toilet themselves, so you don't have to toilet them.
So these guys are 18 months old. When are they going to be fully grown?
So devils are fully grown at 2 years old. So in around about March next year, these guys will be fully grown. And that's when we will split these guys up and they'll go up to Aussiark for their breeding. So we're just going to throw a little bit of food in now and see if they go for that. And we've got little chunks of roux today. So you can see Blue's going to use her little hands to pick it up. Oh, she's more interested in the camera, which she just stole. All right.
to see her stand up.
There we go. Do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, we might actually go talk to Hewan.
Okay, well, I'm going to pass you over to Huey now. Huey is going to give you a few more questions.
So how long have you been working with devils, Hewan?
So I've been at the park now working with devils for about 4 years. One of my favourite animals here at the park. Done a little bit of work up at Aussie Ark as well, so definitely a very unique animal. Especially these three, they're really special. All the keeps here, as Dean was saying, they're very friendly. So these three are the stars, in my opinion.
So when you see them kind of, you know, fighting, I guess, or kind of looks like they're attacking each other, are they trying to hurt each other, or is it some other kind of, you know, communicating something else? Like, what are they doing right now?
Yeah, so they're a bit of a misunderstood species. Like Dean said, there are a variety of communications and vocalizations, but believe me, when they're actually not keen on one another and they really want to hurt each other, you'll know about it. And this will happen in the wild when males come into contact with one another. There's lots of aggression, lots of vocalization. The behaviours that we've just been seeing there are sort of just typical of them just talking to one another. They've got their food around right now, but they're not trying to hurt one another. They're just communicating and saying, hey, back off, this is my piece of food. These three have grown up together, so they're really good. We rarely have any issues with them at all together. They're all pretty chilled devils, so they get along pretty well.
So you know these guys pretty well. Do they have a favourite kind of food?
Yeah, they love baby chickens or day-old chickens. It's probably their favourite type. We try and feed more your gamey type of meats like kangaroo and beef, just because that's more typical of what they would have in the wild. But little baby chickens they love. They'll eat anything though, reptiles, birds, mammals, fish, whatever you put in here. These ones being hand raised, they're a little bit more picky. They might not eat anything, but an adult Tasmanian devil in the wild will eat whatever they can get their hands on.
All right, thanks so much for that, Hugh. We might wrap it up there, and we'll say goodbye, Dean.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope you learned lots. Just remember, we do have another live stream tomorrow, which is Dan and the Crocodile. So tune in for that at 2 o'clock. Just remember, if you have any Discover vouchers, you can pay it forward to any charities if you're not going to use them. And you can just head over to our website, which is Australian Reptile Park.
Just reptilepark.com.au.
Sorry about that, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, Dean.
Thanks,
that was
guys, and
great.
have a great day.
See you later.
Bye.